Right now I'm waiting for this bottom snow area to dry on this painting. So I wanted to do some glazing just in certain areas of the snow. The background is basically done, it's dry, but I just wanted to add some subtle shadows to make it even more realistic. First, I get the smallest amount of safflower oil on my brush. I kind of leave it there on the palette, grab a dab of ivory black oil paint, mix it up, get in another dab of ultramarine blue oil paint, mix it in there. It still seems a little thick, so I'm going to grab a little more safflower oil, just the tiniest amount. I'm barely dipping my brush in there. And it's getting to a consistency I like, but I'm still going to get the excess off of my brush. And here I come up to a point where I want to create a little more shadow on the edges of the snow. And I start kind of lightly going back and forth, dragging the paint across. I'm going to get some more excess paint off. It's still a little more than I want. So at this point, my brush is almost dry. But as you can see, there's still enough pigment on there to add a very subtle shadow. Here's another small area where I'm creating shadow, and you'll notice that my brush is moving in a small circular motion. So for smaller areas where I'm doing glazing, I'm going to do this instead of side to side or up and down brush strokes. So that looks a little harsh to me. I'm going to get some excess paint off of my paintbrush. Now it's blending a little better. And this looks shiny right now, but it's gonna dry matte. Just a small tip, if you ever feel like you've put excess oil or paint on your canvas, you can take a tiny corner of paper towel and just lightly dab where you want to pick up the excess. I'm going to add some more shadow to the right side of the fox's head as well. Right now I'm working with a combination of ivory black and burnt umber and raw sienna. And I've diluted it with the safflower oil. This is the part where I always have to hold my breath. I'm like, oh, I hope this works. But again, you can pick up anything you don't like with a little bit of paper towel gently pressed against the paint. So I'm using right now a 1/4 inch angled brush. Previously, I was using a 1/8 inch angled brush. And this is really subtle shadow. It basically helps the light source, which is coming from the top left, seem more believable, which is why I say the shadow helps it seem more realistic overall. Here's a close-up of one of the ears. I'm just making the part of the ear that would naturally be in shadow a little darker than what'll be on the left side of the fox's body. Going back to the right ear, I'm taking a 3/8 inch filbert brush and creating highlights with undiluted titanium white paint. I'm doing this while the glaze is still wet and the paint glides really nicely and easily through it. I wouldn't mix undiluted and diluted paint except for the very top layer of a painting, because I don't want to mess with the fat over lean principle, which is the thinnest and least oily layer of paint on the bottom of the painting, and then subsequent layers can become more oily and thicker. That way the painting can dry properly. So this painting is almost done, but not quite there. But as you can see, the shadows are really helping it come to life. So if you're working on a painting and you're wondering how to make it more realistic and you can't figure out what's missing, maybe take a step back and think about whether or not glazing might help the situation. Some artists will glaze entire paintings, and others, like me, will just do like spot glazing or just certain areas with glazing. So play around with the technique, make sure you have paper towels handy, and have fun with it. Hope this video helped. Take care.